Hello, everyone. As I promised you several weeks ago, today I bring to you a student testimonial of a one of our former students at City Tutoring. And I think you're going to enjoy this because many of you have been asking or have been curious about what the student experience is like taking classes at City Tutoring. Uh, that's the purpose of this video today. So it's not going to be a pedagogical video. It's not going to be, there's no teaching today. It's just a student sharing her experience with us. Right. So today I want to present all of you with a former student of mine. Her name is Miss Felicia Perez. And Miss Felicia Perez is originally from New York City, born and raised. Am I right, Miss Perez?
Yeah,
All right, and Miss Perez is a currently a college student. Finish up. What year are you in? Second or third year?
I'm in my fifth semester, which is my final semester of my bachelor's.
Wonderful. And so Miss Perez took courses in college algebra with me, and I wanted to share with my audience today her testimonial on her experiences with college algebra. So, without much further ado, we begin a very interesting interview with a very fun student that we had. Ms. Perez, so first question I have for you. Um, could you tell us a bit about your previous experiences with math, specifically before you joined my college algebra class? Tell us of any challenges or disappointments that you may have faced in the past.
Absolutely. So a lot of my experiences with math, it was very hard. Um, I didn't really understand math a lot. I understood the basics, but when it came to the love of learning math or beginning to feel confident with math, I think I had sort of a love-hate relationship with math. And a lot of that stemmed from my previous schooling experiences. I always felt lost in the classroom. I didn't feel very much like welcome, like I belonged. And I think it was just being amongst a crowded classroom with other students. It was very hard and challenging for the teachers. And I understand that now more than I understood it then. And I didn't have that that time with my teacher to really have a one-to-one understanding to really grasp what I was learning in math. And so I think that's what I was missing a lot. And when it came to algebra and fractions and decimals, I struggled so much. But from that experience and transitioning to our college math class with Professor Cromwell, I started to understand like, wow, this person has a passion for what he's teaching us. And I think that's a huge difference when you have a passion for something, you're able to have more an open mind with it and understand that everyone's, doesn't have the same experiences as you. And I learned that a lot because from your class, you gave us not only you gave us the undivided attention that we needed, but you understood our unique experience that we had within our struggles of math, and it
People
gave
that
me such a different perception.
I appreciate that. That really means a lot to me because, I've always felt from my own experiences as well, exactly what you've said. Sometimes you're in a classroom, you're just a number. You're 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 either just a number or not all the time, but sometimes you might get an instructor who is not invested in your time, right? And doesn't really might or might become, some people just become very impatient. And I'm sure you've seen examples of that where, you
Very,
ask a question and professor doesn't want to answer the question or says, "Oh,
very
we covered that last week," right? Sort of thing. But all right, my other question for you was related, but could you tell us how your perspective changed with once you were taking the course with because the method that we use is the city tutoring method, right? So
yes,
we've
of
been
course.
so what was one of the main differences that you noticed between city tutoring style math versus what public school math or other places that you've been to?
Absolutely. So what one of the differences that I noticed right away was the different methods of teaching overall. I think that a lot of it had to do with what we were learning and why we were learning it. I think the important part of learning something is to understand the reason why. That big why is such an important factor into not only understanding something, but absorbing it. And I always question that. Like, why do we have to learn this? Why must I learn this? And understanding the importance of what I was learning as to why I was learning it gave me a whole different perspective on it. And I had much more of respect for math now than I did then as a public school student. And I think when you're trying to get further in life and you're working towards your career, then that gives you the broader perspective as to why. Your why becomes clear. And I understood more like, okay, this is why I'm learning this because I'm aiming something towards more rewarding than I was before. This is my future. This is something that's important, something that I can instill in myself and instill in others. So I understood it much more better. Um, and I also think that one of it was so interesting because fractions was probably my not my weakness, but not my greatest strengths. And now when I look at fractions, I don't feel nervous when I look at a fraction problem or mathematical problem. I feel like more confident, like I can give this my all, I can give this a try versus than before and feeling scared and nervous and not wanting to even take a jag at it.
You for that. I remember when you first joined the college algebra, there was fear in your eyes. I
Absolutely.
remember that. And then, I remember you spoke to me after class, of course. We spoke privately and you said, how am I going to pass this course? And it's something I get every semester from students. But I like how you just reminded me of something because you mentioned the why. And for me, that is a fundamental part. I always tell my students, it's so important to ask why. Don't just take, it's not because the instructor says it, it's because there are mathematical laws that come with it, right? On that note, what was the most challenging part that you can remember of college algebra for you in using the city tutoring method?
Yes. I think the most challenging part, it was mostly just understanding that everything was time based. It may not have to be rushed, but understanding like, okay, we have a quiz. This quiz is a practice, but when it comes to that exam, it's time. Like you have to do this in a certain amount of timing. And although we were always prepared because you prepared us very well, it was still in our like mindset where, okay, this is time. I really have to get done and really succeed at it at this time because any delay it just kind of like sets you back a little bit and you never want to be set back, but I never felt like I was set back. I always felt like I was prepared, and because we practiced so much on what we were learning, when it came down to our exams it was like clockwork. So everything fell into place. And that's another thing that I really appreciated, that not only did I feel confident, but I appreciated the fact that we learned so much and we practiced everything. And we knew exactly what we were going to be challenging. And due to the fact that we were so well prepared, it means the world to be
Thank you.
prepared.
I remember you asked me one time, one of my favorite moments, if I recall, correct me if I'm wrong. I remember you said we were doing division, right? We were doing division of like expressions. And we were, we were first being exposed to, because I know a lot of students asked me, they said, I want to know the technology, and I'm not high tech. So at that point, I was allowing, I wanted to compare graphing calculators with just the traditional. But I remember you were the one who said, no, I want to know how to do this on paper. I don't
Yes,
want to know the calc. I want to know how to take that square root. I don't want to just plug it into a calculator, right? Was it you?
correct, correct. Because I felt like if it's something that I can do on a calculator, okay, great. That's an essential thing to have, something that you can utilize to assist you. But if mental math matters. And so math is something that's everywhere. And you always told us that math is everywhere. Math will forever be here and it's not going anywhere. This is forever. So if in order to understand that, we need to understand mentally how to be prepared and focus everything that we're learning within our numbers, within our mathematical experience. And I think a lot of it has to do with your brain stem as well. So I remember you teaching us that the importance of brain foods, the importance of using what you're learning in your brain stem to be prepared so that your brain can sort of like focus and reshift the focus of everything. And so I really wanted to learn everything mentally, and that the mental aspect of math is so vital to our learning.
I was telling my audience the other day about that. Somebody had asked me, they said, they usually the assumption is your favorite kind of student must be the straight A student. I said, no, my favorite kind of students are the ones who start with a zero and work their way up. That is the most rewarding, at least in my experience, right? Because you have students and you had classmates like that, and you had a similar background where you feel so lost, you feel like you're drowning. But then all of a sudden you see the big picture, right? Remember we said we start from zero. We start from scratch. You don't need a math background in the beginning, but we build our way up. And on that note, I was speaking the other day to the audience about the principles of City Tutoring. I remember you said, I wanted you to tell them, how is our no nonsense approach with the troublemakers? How do we deal with troublemakers when we have them? We don't really have them, rarely, but
No, we don't. I honestly can say that, in my experience with our class, we
Mhm,
were always very respectful.
mhm.
You gave us the no nonsense sort of way of teaching, and I really appreciated that because it showed us that, we have to have integrity. Integrity is important, especially within a classroom setting, a college setting, any setting really. But and with you, it always felt very like natural and very fresh because although you gave us the rules of I respect you, you respect me, but more importantly, we must respect one another. And I think that was always something that you instilled in us in our classroom.
Well, thank you for saying that because I get a lot of people, they don't understand, if they're new, they don't understand why there has to be a an ethical and moral foundation, right? They're sort of like they want to do their thing, they want to be all over the place, and I always tell them like we have every student, every human being has different ways of learning, right? But you have to have a structure. You have to keep at it. Math is not one of those things that you can say I'm just going to do it, I'm going to read 5 minutes and then I'm going to wing it the next day, right? You
Yes.
have to maintain a pace for that. Um, if you could offer advice to students who a lot of people ask me there, and you as a student, it would be very helpful. What message would you give to an audience member who might say they're struggling with math, they don't know how to start? What would be some advice that you would give them from your perspective?
I love this. I always say to anyone who struggles with anything, no matter what your struggles are, it's always important to remember that your struggles create your strength. You never know how much strength you have within yourself until you've gone through those struggles. And I think it's beautiful because if you think about it, everything that goes through trials and tribulations, when we have triumphs and we look back as far as how we've came, where we've came from versus where we started, you feel more proud. You're very proud of yourself and you feel more dedicated and you can say to yourself, wow, look how far I've come. All of this I might have been challenged with or endured, but it didn't break me. This was my breakthrough. This made me stronger. So I think that's always important. And I read something which is like a biblical sort of quote. And it really is something that resonates with me very much. And I think about flowers and how they have to go through this dark sort of moment to go through the soil to reach above it to get to the sunlight and grow. And the biblical quote is bloom where you are planted. And that kind of like resonates with me because we're sort of like this little seed, a garden of flowers. It's beautiful. Growth is beautiful. Our struggles are beautiful. And it's amazing when you can go through such struggles and become even more strong.
Ms. Perez, thank you so much for the time that you have given us.
Yeah,
And I hope to maintain the contact with you. And
absolutely.
I just wish you all the best in everything you do, and may the Lord bless you.
My pleasure, Professor. And may the Lord bless you. You are so gifted, and I'm so grateful for you, and I'm truly blessed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. God bless you.